Last time we were on this fair recording, I really, and I know you say it doesn't matter, but I really goofed up on what episode number this was.
Oh yeah.
So last time I said, when we were doing The Wolfman, which was our part 6 Monsters of Universal, I said welcome to episode 69.
Yeah.
And that was so wrong. And this is all because I split our 2023 horror wrap up into 2 episodes. Yes. So I was one ahead. So last episode was episode 70, actually. I guess that's a milestone.
I mean, if we were married, it would be.
What 70th wedding.
70
anniversary. Silver.
Is it silver?
It's platinum. We gone platinum, baby.
Nice.
We gone platinum. We've beaten the emerald, diamond, and blue sapphire. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then when we get to 75, we'll be there's no 75. 80th is oak. So we're kind of going down a bit.
Yeah, because isn't like 2 wood?
No, 2. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Here, 5th is wood.
5th or 2nd's cotton. Yeah. 5th. I knew wood was an earlier one.
Paper, cotton, leather, fruit or flowers, wood. But then we come back to wood.
just a specific wood.
Yeah.
80.
I guess oak because it's so old. It'll be old.
Yeah. Old and
decrepit and.
Well, I was thinking more sort of solid and.
Oh, no.
Because like old wood gets really fucking hard, doesn't it?
No, we're like a pine tree that's just been left to rot and not really looked after.
90th is stone, apparently.
What's a really poor analogy for us that relates to stone?
I mean something like pumice. just rubbing skin off feet.
Yeah, that's us. That's this podcast. This podcast is nothing like a nice gemstone. This is a pumice stone that you rub on your old lady's foot.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we've passed our lovely platinum anniversary, and we're moving on to our 80th oak anniversary with today's episode 71 of the Dreadcast. Woo! Welcome back. I am Tom. This is lovely Aidan.
Hello.
I don't know why I wooed there. We're not woo people.
We're not really woo people.
We're not. That's for the real cheesy podcasts. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dreadcast. Pew 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 pew.
Smashy nicey vibes.
Yes, smashy nicey.
What great mates we are.
Yes, smashy nicey. Episode 71. I'm gonna get this right. I know you say it doesn't matter, but I'm still gonna continue it. I'm still gonna get it.
In the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But also, it would be nice to get it right once in a while.
It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't really matter. It don't really matter. Don't want another bit of stolen content there. Yes, welcome back. And today's going to be a bit different. Today's going to be a bit different, but fun.
Yeah.
It's still horror related, but it's going to be fun.
It is fun horror related.
Before we get into anything juicy, thank you to anyone who's checked out last week's episode, The Wolfman, our part 6, like I said, of Monster Universal series.
Yes.
It's been doing very well on YouTube. Thank you for everyone that's checked it out, giving it a like, giving it a thumbs up, giving it all that. I think that's the same thing, actually. Share it with your mates,
all that jazz. Posted it around on the socials, exactly.
Yeah, because we are coming to the end nearly of that series, and what's coming up again? We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. What's coming up again after Monsters of Universal series?
We finished the Monsters of Universal. And he's reaching for it now, folks. We have films from the Raven-sized coffin.
Well done, you got it right.
Until we can think of a snappier title for that. We're not going to think of a snappier title, are we? It's going to be that the lid creaks like that Alan Partridge episode. The lid creaks up.
Yes, it's an extender.
The Raven-sized coffin horror tombola. Spectacular.
Yes, spectacular. Where there are numerous topics or categories, if you will, scattered inside the Raven Tombola. We have, when the time comes around to it, we have already done it. We picked two of them. We picked two of them, and we then have to go and find a film related to two of those categories / topics.
Yes. And so we did our first draw. We have, and we got, and I have it written. I did have it written on a scrap of paper. I don't know where that went. It was less than 80 minutes with Nightmare in the title. So
the worst picks.
They were. It was a rough combination. It was a rough combination, but with a slight bending of the rules on your part, which, you know, judges allowed. Ruling says okay. Mainly because it's a film I think we both want to watch as well.
Yes.
We have managed to pick. We have managed to find two films that
we have indeed.
And yeah, we'll give them a view and see which one we like best and which one was good and which one wasn't, and that will be a new series. So the aim of it, I think, as we have said before, is to focus on the lower end of the
the lower echelon,
the market, the bottom of the barrel.
So, for instance, if one of them is, which does have one of the categories in the box is massacre in the title, there's not a chance in hell we're going to pick, in my opinion, anything from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series.
No.
Maybe if we hadn't done it, part 4.
Maybe, but I also think, and this is going to be a thing where I think we're just going to be constantly evolving the rules and moving.
It's going to change. It's going to change every time. Yeah,
but I think the franchise itself is too big and too well respected.
Agreed.
Despite regardless of the quality of the actual films.
Yep.
I think because for example, all right, the timing didn't quite fit, but Nightmare on Elm Street franchise would have been an obvious pick for the Nightmare in the title.
Exactly.
But regardless of the quality of the sequels or the films, the franchise itself is too well known, too big. We're looking for those budget bargain bin 99p
straight to video DVD.
Straight to video,
back of the VOD librry. Anything you
rip off, sort of. You page 24 of Amazon Prime B-movie stuff. Yeah. So it's going to be fun because we're going to see some absolute trash.
You mean gems?
I mean, gems. Diamonds in the rough could be. We could find some.
Well, I mean, what better for us?
That's it.
For us, pumice stones.
That's the vibe. Pumice stones in the bath. That's what we're aiming for.
What we're after. By the way, speaking of Texas Chainsaw, I have something that we need to quickly. We need to talk about that in a minute. But yes, so that will be coming in the next month, and a half, maybe.
We've got 2 more Universals, haven't we? So it's going to be the next sort of 3 weeks.
But just keep reiterating this every episode to keep reminding you guys out there. You folks at home, join along. See if you can find any films that and send them on in. Send them on into. That's a great one. Send them on into the email address. There we go.
The email address is dreadcastpodcast@gmail.com. I forgot them for a second what it was.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Dreadcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You were just catching your breath. That was all.
And not frantically racking my brain.
But yes, if you can find if you think you've got a good film that has Nightmare in the title and is 80 minutes or less, send them on in. Send your recommendations in. And you know what? I was thinking the other day, you have any films you want us to cover on this podcast, send them on in as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've always said that. If you've got anything that you want us to see, some past episodes we've done have been listener viewer recommendations.
They have indeed. Oh what was the last one?
Maximum Overdrive.
It was, yes.
Maximum Overdrive was suggested by Retro Sesh.
Yep.
Who is Mike, who is not going by Retro Sesh anymore. I forget. He's had a few rebrands and I can't quite remember what he's going as at the minute. He does car stuff, doesn't he?
A listener of the show.
A listener of the show. Yes. Friend of the podcast.
Thank you very much. So yes, that is the update on the Raven-sized coffin horror tombola. Still yet to have an official name, but this is why we have so much time. This is why we planned it early. So we'll keep talking about it every week. and also send in a name if you have a name for that. Just send
Actually,
it.
there you go.
In fact, help us out. If you've got a name for this, please help us out and send it in to the dreadcastpodcast@gmail.com. Please, thank you.
It's going to stay as being Raven Size Coffin, Horror Tombola Spectacular, or something. It'll vary slightly as we can't remember what we said previously.
Please and thank you.
It'll be good.
So, a few little tidbits to get into before we get into today's episode. Watched just randomly Scream 3 last night. The worst one of the franchise. Oh, worse than that and Scream 6. But I had no idea. It's the Scream 3 anniversary as well. 24 years ago came out. And there's also another anniversary. One of your favourites.
Actual favourites? Or
No, not actual. Of course not actual favourites.
Go on, because I think I've seen it. But
it's the 23rd anniversary of Valentine.
Oh, Valentine. Oh, that is an actual favourite, of course. 23. What's 23rd? What's the 23rd anniversary? Well,
it states here. It came out in April. Weird. It came out in April in the UK, 2001, but it came out during February in the US. So 23rd anniversary. I don't have the exact date. But I just wanted to bring that to the table because I know you're no, I'm not going to put this all on you. We're a huge fan of the Valentine franchise here.
We enjoyed it immensely.
Of the franchise, of the
still waiting on that sequel any day now.
But the real bit of news I wanted to bring to the table, which you're aware of, is there are rumblings. There are rumors, there is speculation, there is talk of a brand new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film in production or pre-production or talks or what have you. No. Just no.
Just no, leave it alone. Now I think it was actually your tweet that I saw.
It may have been. Which, by the way, you can follow on the _Dreadcast at Twitter /X.
Nice. Yeah. And it was suggesting that like a potential plot was something about like a rich neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know how legit that is, though.
I don't. But it got me thinking, surely now is the time for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to go to space.
I mean, we talked about that 2 episodes ago, I think. So, yeah. I'm down for that. How? How do you pitch it? How do you do it?
Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space.
Does it get frozen?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure whatever they come up with will be great.
You sure?
How would they end up in space? I mean, penal colony, asylum, the moon asylum.
So the thing is, it's really hard to take this sort of news, rumors, speculation seriously when it's coming from a website called geekvibesnation.com.
Not bad mouth the nation, dude.
Geek Vibes Nation. Yeah. What? So they're saying here, Movie Insider Daniel RPK has dropped some news on his Patreon account, blah blah blah, about a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise titled Texas Chainsaw Legacy. It could only get worse if the title was called Texas Chainsaw Legacy Redemption or Resurgence. Yeah. One of the ones that the Resident Evil franchise used. And here we go. So the details for the film are as follows. Allegedly, again, This is all very much taken with a pinch of salt. Texas Chainsaw Legacy delves into the tranquil facade of Oasis Oaks, a gated community nestled in rural Texas. Amid the meticulously manicured lawns and vigilant security patrols, our protagonist family epitomizes... These are some big words going on here. Epitomizes suburban bliss. However, lurking just beyond the confines of this idyllic enclave lies an abandoned property, home to the infamous Leatherface and his macabre kin. As chaos descends upon Oasis Oaks, ordinary families are pitted against the savage Sawyers they're calling them the Sawyers, in harrowing battle for survival, where the lines between good and evil blur The lines between good and evil.
So,
but aren't I mean, okay, if they're meant to give the impression that the fancy pantsy rich people living in this community are evil,
also potentially evil
because of their ways.
Is it the Sawyer family rich cousins? Is that what it's going to be?
It's like they're trying to give the notion that these rich people are evil in their ways, like, they're
yeah.
But then you've got the evil of the Sawyers coming in, and we meant to. It's like Saw X. Are we meant to now be on the?
We're going to be rooting for them. But
yeah.
How did they end up in this rich community? Is it like Beverly Hillbillies? Did they strike oil on their farm and
probably
pack up with Leatherface on a rocking chair on the top of the pile of furniture on the pickup? And,
You've got the Sawyer house here, and then this apartment complex the other side.
And they've just built
just
built a gated community around their house.
It's like that news report that always went around of, like, I think it was in China, of this family didn't want to sell their house, so their house stayed, but the community got built around their house. Yeah. Latest film in the franchise released in 2022. Netflix, despite a 31% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes, that's too high. The film was number 2 on Netflix with 29 million hours watched, because we've got those people on Twitter that love this film, apparently.
Oh, God, yeah. Some strange people out there.
No additional details for the movie has been revealed at this time, because I don't believe this. I believe, yes, there will be a new film, because these franchises need to keep going. I don't believe this, though. No.
It's that's it. There'll be it's the kernel of truth in the rest of it, isn't it? That there's rumblings of another sequel, another movie. Presumably, it'll follow on from that one.
Yeah, if it will follow on from the Netflix one, because at the end of the Netflix one, in the credits scene, there was a post-credit scene where he arrives back at his house.
Yeah.
There's the Reddit post here that has in the horror subreddit. The subreddit post is about it being a rumor, and some of the comments. The first comment is, "Let's take it to space. Give us leather space."
Leather space. That sounds
good.
Like a specialist clothing website, doesn't it?
I smell a crossover sequel: Leather Space versus Jason X versus the Leprechaun. Maybe sprinkle in some Xenomorphs too. The title Legacy kind of puts me off. I hope it's done by someone who loves the 74 film. I think TCM needs to stay in the decade of the 70s. Couldn't agree more. It's just something about a crazy hick, cannibalistic, grave robbing family in the middle of nowhere in Texas. It just fits the 70s.
It does, and it's got that thing because it's pre-internet and pre-social media and all of that sort of stuff. That people thought it was real. People thought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on it was based on the story and stuff loosely, but I remember reading articles and things about it, and people were sort of, people swearing that their cousin's mate's sister worked at the asylum that Leatherface ended up in, and he was medicated and he ended up being all right. And it was like people, because it had that that advantage of not being all over the internet and dissected at the time, that people thought that it was based on some sort of genuine true story,
and now it ends up being bastardized because he becomes a horror icon. So how can we use him in another Texas Chainsaw film and just use the imagery of him and the title to make some money?
I mean, it's Exorcist Believer, innit?
It's all it is.
We'll just shoehorn in that, and we don't really need to think about the plot, because the weight of it is that it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we don't actually need to do any more work beyond that. Speaking of sequels, another little bit of news.
What you got there? What you got?
The official poster art and title reveal for Beetlejuice 2 has come out recently.
Hey,
don't know how you feel about this one.
I don't. And do you want to know why?
Go on.
Because I never saw Beetlejuice 1.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's one of my favourite films.
Sorry, are you walking away from the podcast now?
That's it, I quit.
You've done a year. You're out of the game now.
Well, I think I think I know what I'm going to pick for something.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
So I don't know how I feel about this sequel. To be quite honest, I'm kind of interested in it.
Yep.
I like Michael Keaton's performance as Mr. Juice. I like
Mr. B Juice.
You know, I like the very sort of Tim Burton weirdness of the OG. It's, as I say, it's one of my favourite films. Watched it a lot as a kid. Still watch it fairly regularly now.
Yeah, me too.
Don't know if it needs a sequel. They've got as much of the original cast returning as they can get, so that's good. And Tim Burton's directing again, so that's good. But, you know, sequels generally, and particularly late sequels.
Yeah, leaving them too long. Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about it. But given that the title is Beetlejuice, you know about saying his name 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm calling it now that they will definitely do a third, just so they can use the 3 Beetlejuice title.
It was you that tweeted that. I was just about to say, I thought I saw someone on Twitter say, "Oh, what a good idea would be to call it Beetlejuice."
I suppose it is a good idea, but
I think it's good, and I'm not just
definitely will
blowing smoke up your ass. I think it's good because it plays with what happens in the film. How many times do you have to say Candyman?
Is that 5? I think that's 5.
The 5 sequels to the Candyman. Oh, what are you going to see? What are you going to see tonight at the cinema? I'm going to see Candyman
Cubed.
Candyman, yeah.
Candyman to the power 4.
Yeah.
It's the best one. A lot of people don't like it, but you know.
What would it be? It'd be Candyman squared.
Yeah, cubed. I don't know how you say it.
I don't know how that would work.
I don't know. I think it's just to the power of, isn't it? After cubed.
Yeah.
Any mathematicians listening, get in touch. Let us know.
Send them in to the Dreadcast at gmail.com. I'd be down for checking it out. It's not one that I've avoided ever.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's just a film I've never watched before, basically.
So I do like the poster art, which is it's Beetlejuice's hands holding the little sort of
what is
tape. That it's a reference to, in the original movie, there's like the afterlife is like a whole sort of office bureaucracy type thing, and there's a waiting room with a bunch of dead people, and they're all, you know, there's a guy with like a corn cob stuck in his throat who choked to death. There's a guy with like a shark on his leg that was killed in a shark attack. So they're all sort of like represented by how they died. And yeah, there's a little ticket machine for people waiting their turn, and Beetlejuice is like the end of the film. He has a ridiculously long number. It's like 9 million something or other. So it's a little reference to that. I'm assuming that's American date format. So
they put the month before the day.
It's the 6th of September 24. So it's coming out this September, not this June.
What is wrong with you, Americans? What is wrong?
That's the whole other episode.
Well,
we haven't got time to go into that.
We haven't got time for that. But it goes. Look, days go into months go into years.
It's a logical progression, isn't it? It is a logical progression.
What happens when you've got the 2nd of February? I mean, that's the same thing either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why would you not put the day? It's fine. They're wrong. It's fine. Okay, they're wrong. But no, I'd be very much up for watching Beetlejuice because, like I said, it's not a film I went out of my way to avoid. Mm-hmm. Just never got around to watching.
Yeah, not going into it. It's a good. I mean, you know, it's Tim Burton at his very best. The aesthetic of it's great. Michael Keaton's performance is great. It's funny. It's just a great movie. I love it. Big fan of Beetlejuice.
Okay.
So I do. So yeah, I do want to see more. I am curious about this. I'm interested. But yeah, there's a slight bit of reservation just because it's been such a long time.
Yeah.
But I think it's been in, you know, like pre-production hell for a long time. I think this is something
It
that's
has
surfaced and gone away and resurfaced and gone away since the first one. I can't remember just when the first
it's
one
one
came
of those films that so many times over the years you'd see on social media what ended up being a fake movie poster.
Yeah.
And saying Beetlejuice 2 rumors in production, and you know it's not true until it comes from, say, the studio, Tim Burton, or maybe Michael Keaton, or like Winona Ryder, one of the top cast. Then you know it's true, because you're led into so much false hope that the films like these are coming out or in being made. People believe it. Like,
well, that poster art is based on a fan version poster art from years and years ago. Yeah. Where he had that actual number and it was like, oh, it's my turn next or whatever.
Right.
So they have actually, I mean, I'm hoping the guy or gal or whoever made that fan art got credited. But it does look like they've based the actual official poster on that fan art, which is pretty cool.
Righto. So, as I said at the beginning of the episode, a little bit different today, or as you can see from the title, you already know what you're listening to. But if you've fallen into this podcast as a surprise, someone's lured you into a random podcast episode, and you have no idea what you're listening to, well, do we have a surprise for you today?
Yeah.
It is horror related, but it's of the fun. Fun for everyone, sort of horror related. This is something that everyone can enjoy. You know, we talk about horror films. I wouldn't advise this to someone. I wouldn't recommend this to someone.
Yeah.
This is something everyone can enjoy, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
by and large,
this was your great idea.
Yeah. Was it?
It was. It was. I'm giving you credit. This was your idea. This was your good idea.
Well, I was thinking about doing some more, because horror and comedy go hand in hand in a lot of ways.
They do.
It's a big sort of subgenre of its own. Like, there are plenty of big popular horror comedy movies out there, Shaun of the Dead and Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and there's
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead, yeah, we've already touched upon sort of, and a lot of sequels as well. Arguably, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2's got a little bit more horror, more comedy than horror in there. So yeah, obviously the Nightmare sequels, Freddy became a one-line quipping caricature comedian of himself, you know. So horror and comedy has always gone hand in hand, and we like a parody here at the Dreadcast.
We do,
and particularly we are both, I think it's fair to say, pretty big Simpsons fans.
Damn it! Where's my Krusty? Oh, my Krusty's not here. But yeah, there's a lot of Simpsons stuff scattered around this room. Yeah, huge. I mean, the genius with the Simpsons, I find, is that to a lot of people, I think, especially a generation above us, boomers or older, may see the Simpsons as it's just a cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's so much more than that. It's a clever sitcom, masquerading just under a cartoon disguise. Like, and a lot of people see a cartoon, oh, it's for kids. It's like there's a lot of really hidden jokes in some of the peak episodes of Simpsons that are not made for kids in a way. Not made for the audience of like a South Park audience, but they're clever.
Yeah, it's not certainly not South Park. It's certainly not going that far, but it's definitely that sort of, you know, kids have got the appeal of, you know, it's cartoon people running around doing silly things, but then a lot of the writing is certainly aimed at a more mature audience, you know, and not because it's, you know, rude jokes or risque or anything like that necessarily, although there is a smattering of that. But it's clever writing, it's adult humor in the sense that, you know, it's clever jokes that are probably going to go over a lot of kids' heads. It's very I mean, later series maybe not so much, depending on how you feel about that.
It's a very different show these days, and I think one point I actually noted down, which I've always thought, but really noted, I could see from the first episode we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about 2 episodes today. Is the animation and art style. The animation and art style and the drawings and the design, a lot of it is elongated and not so crisp and clean.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, where it looks like it's been drawn on like Illustrator or
which it
everything
probably has.
is so neat and crisp, and the shadows are crisp and I don't know. It's too neat. It's too neat.
Yeah, it's too neat now. You still feel, and I think the big problem that a lot of people have is the writing, isn't it? A lot of the.
I mean, the writing. Nothing will beat peak between season 3 and 10, and I think that is the consensus with The Simpsons. Season 3 and 10 are gold. Personally, 6 to 9, those seasons 6 to 9 are near enough perfect. Yeah. Season 8 is my favorite season of all time.
The episodes are in season 8.
You Only Move Twice.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Say no more.
That's
probably the best episode.
Hank Scorpio.
Yeah. The single-use character that's probably had the biggest impact.
If you want to know where to get a hammock, you watch that episode, okay? Hammocks are us.
Ever seen a man say goodbye to a shoe?
Get the hell out of here!
Anyway.
No,
we don't
I want to talk more.
Need to describe to you in too much more detail about what The Simpsons is.
Yeah, in case you don't know what The Simpsons is.
What The Simpsons is. So if you don't, since Series 2, I think, is the first episode, isn't it? Since Series 2, they've done a Halloween special that has later, I think it was just the Halloween special in the first episode, but very quickly became known as the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Indeed.
And we're up to 35 seasons of The Simpsons now. There isn't 34. A Treehouse of Horror 30. Is it 34?
Yeah, but I think they did it every year from season 2.
Oh, from series 2, yeah.
Which is annoying because you're 35 seasons, but we got 34. Yeah.
So we're still waiting on a Treehouse of Horror 35, but there is 1 to 34. So we thought it'd be fun to visit them because they all have a couple of parodies of actual horror films, famous franchises, older stuff, new stuff. There's original content in there as well. And I've always thought that they were standout episodes for me, I think, because for the
most part, yeah.
I like to see how The Simpsons tackle these, sort of famous icons of horror, and they have done some iconic ones. As we go through, we'll see their version of Nightmare on Elm Street and It and Paranormal Activity, The Shining, The Exorcist,
the Shinning,
the Shinning. You've got the shin.
Well, like I said, I personally haven't followed The Simpsons for a long time, not like episode by episode basis. But from what I've seen with the promotional art for the more modern the Treehouse of Horrors, they seem to fall more into parodies of more pop culture shows or films rather than focusing on just parodying horror alone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
But and why not? In a business sense, you're trying to gain more of an audience, trying to get the clicks, trying to get the views, and why would they not? So fine, it's not for us.
No, but as I say, as Simpsons fans and horror fans, this seemed like a no-brainer. Really, let's look at some Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Not some. Let's look at all of them.
We're going to look at all of them.
Yeah, we're going to look at all of them. Not today. We're going to go through Treehouse of Horror 1 and Treehouse of Horror 2. So we're going to split it up to 2 episodes per Treehouse of Horror episode. So we've got plenty more to come in, I guess, this new series for the Dreadcast.
It is.
So we got, like we said a few episodes ago, we got brand new stuff coming for you. And this is one of them. It's a debut episode. So Treehouse of Horror 1, Season 2, Episode 3. First one. I forgot. I thought this one went straight into it. Was just basically 3 shorts.
Oh, okay.
But they do the disclaimer at the beginning.
We get the warning
with Marge,
from Marge,
which acts as it's a gag, but it does act as a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the show is seen as a cartoon for most, but this is an episode that does show blood, in a way, and violence, but it's come across in a comical way. But it still shows blood, and this would have been shown maybe mid-evening. So they kind of have to get a disclaimer in there anyway, but it still works as a gag.
They do. I mean, it still works as a gag, and as we'll see in later episodes, it gets abandoned because basically nobody's listening to Marge.
No,
and still
of course
watching
not.
it and stuff. It's also a nod to, I think, Hitchcock. Hitchcock films had these introductions. Didn't one of our Universal
did Frankenstein, I believe.
Was it Frankenstein? Yeah,
yeah,
had
I believe
introductory thing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's the thing, as we'll see, is where there may be one of the shorts will be focusing on a particular horror movie or property. It's The Simpsons, so there's still lots of little gags and references to other things, and so yeah, that's nice. We get that little introduction, which is unusual for it being what do they call it? A cold open? Is that what they call it when there's something before the credits?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah,
which is unusual for the
something
Simpsons.
before what you're expecting, I guess, for the episode. So yeah, it's kind of a cold open.
Oh, it's before this is before the titles. This is before the title sequence.
Oh, you're right. It is before, the title crawl of the Treehouse of Horror. Now that they did keep for, I want to say 5 or 6 of them. The title of Treehouse of Horror 1, 2, 3, coming out of the graveyard, and then the camera panning through the graveyard with some gags. They kept that for a few more, which we'll see as we go on. And then they obviously changed it. I think one of my favorite openings to a Treehouse was later on, where Bart is going through like an art gallery showing you each paint, and then the paintings are of the story, which can't wait to get to those ones. Can't wait.
So they have so as well as the little Marge introduction, then we have a framing device for how these stories are presented. So in the first episode, it's the kids, Bart and Lisa are in the treehouse in the garden telling scary stories. It's Halloween. It's Halloween night, and Homer is dressed as a ghost he's been trick-or-treating himself.
Yeah.
and I think he sort of says like, "Oh, I want to see what the kids are up to," and then realizes they're telling stories, and he's outside listening to them, getting progressively more scared as the episode goes on.
That's our wraparound in theory.
That's our wraparound.
That's our VHS film style wraparound. Yeah,
and I think again we'll see as we go on, but from memory, I think they lose that wraparound device in some of the later ones.
Like we said, a lot of modern, probably from the last 15 years or so, very vague memory up to the point of no memory of them. But I go back to the one that I remember the most, the Bart going through the art gallery. That is the opening disclaimer plus wraparound. Yeah. So they mixed and matched in different episodes, but it's like this one and the next episode. Actually, the wraparound is somewhat of a story itself. Yeah.
So the first episode is the kids telling ghost stories, telling scary stories, and the second episode is they're all having nightmares. Each 3 of the family members are having nightmares. And then we say we get the Bart in the gallery, but I can't remember many other ones after that. And I think I was looking through this in advance, and I think I can definitely say for certain I've seen 11.
Okay.
I've seen 11 of them. Maybe bits of some of the ones after that. But yeah, there are some of the later ones, like in the late 20s and episode 30 and stuff beyond, that I've definitely not seen at all. So it's going to be fun to go through them and see what I've missed, as well as
I agree,
as well as catching up with ones that I have seen, because this first episode has the short that I immediately think of, or one of the shorts I immediately think of when I think of Treehouse of Horror, and it's the third one, the Raven.
I'm glad you said that, because I had in my notes. Do you know what I had in my notes for the third one? Not overly familiar personally with Alan Poe's work.
Me neither.
Aidan will be good covering this one.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not. My familiarity with Edgar Allan Poe's work is this.
There we go. Thank you.
Version of. And I think Poe pops up in another Simpsons episode with the diorama.
Yes, the Telltale Heart, where
Telltale
Lisa, Alison, the new girl at school,
who
I believe is voiced by Winona Ryder. I think she's voiced by Winona Ryder. I might be wrong.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, she's making a box diorama of the Telltale Heart and has like she's only 8 and has like a working mechanism in it that shows where the heart is beeping. Yeah, it's great. She's an overachiever. Basically. And she's Lisa's rival. Lisa's jealous because she's suddenly not the smartest girl. I have been wanting to start our Simpsons podcast for so goddamn long, where we go from episode 1 on every episode is each episode. Mm-hmm. It was Winona Ryder. It was. I thought so. It's certainly in the first episode. She has a couple of reappearances, voiced by somebody, different actresses, but yeah, it was Winona Ryder in that first appearance. So, should we get through the stories then? Let's do it. The first Treehouse of Horror, episode 1, Treehouse of Horror 1, season 2, episode 3. The first story that I can't remember who says it. Is it Lisa's story? Because Lisa and Bart tell stories to each other in the treehouse. Yes, I think this is Lisa's story. No, it's Bart. Is it? I thought that Bart like poo-poos it after. It's one of them. It's one of them, and it's called Bad Dream House. Bad Dream House, which is basically influences from Amityville Horror and Poltergeist. Yeah, your haunted house. The big two. Although, what struck me obviously immediately is that it's Amityville / Poltergeist. Yeah, the house itself is neither. It looks more like the house from Psycho. It looks more like Norman Bates' house than it does. I thought that either the Amityville house or certainly the Poltergeist house, which is just like a suburban standard one, isn't it? So yeah, I think so. I'm guessing that's deliberate. I'm guessing that's another little like. I would assume that is deliberate, more so because the Bates house, the look of it feels more iconic. I mean, the Amityville house is quite iconic in horror, but I think the Bates house has more leverage on that looks wise for a horror house, you know. Yeah. But it's not. I mean, it's not a definite copy because I think the Simpsons do a Psycho parody as well. They have a no. Well, it's a throwaway gag with Principal Skinner looking out the window. Oh, there's Mother now. Oh, she's watching me, and that's the Psycho house. I absolutely love Skinner's like Vietnam flashbacks. Or there's Mother now. What's that, Mother? Well, I have a right to be here. Yeah, so that's the Psycho reference, and that is definitely a copy of the Psycho house. So the one in Bad Dream House is not a copy of it, but it has more. It looks more like that than it does the Amityville house. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of notes I took here. It's basically a very simple story. Also, I shouldn't have to say this. Okay, The Simpsons is quite popular. If you're not familiar with The Simpsons, okay, and I would have thought anyone listening to this has seen this or knows about how Treehouse of Horror works. Every story in these Treehouse of Horror episodes are not canon. They are just in another timeline, made up stories that feature characters from the show, basically. So The Simpsons have bought this new house, moved into it, but it's haunted, basically, and there's a voice that they can all hear telling them to get out. That is very, very simple. Very simple. All these stories are very simple because they're quick. A few points I took. It was a motivated seller, and all I could think there was Lionel Hutz as the estate agent going motivated seller, because this house really reminded me of that the murder house from the actual murder house episode. Yeah, it looks like it from the inside where the purple drapes. Yeah, the one Marge sells to Ned. There was the murder house. It does look a lot like that. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's a motivated seller. Rip Phil Hartman. Love you, Phil Hartman. So throughout the episode, weird things start happening. They all start to hear this voice saying, "Get out, get out." Marge finds a portal in the kitchen. There's blood dripping from the kitchen units, which needs a woman's touch, apparently.
Yeah, there's also a very subtle little thing where Bart's unpacking a box of books, and every time he puts one on the pile, it just like floats back in.
Yeah. Did you catch as well the mover? You know, when they're moving into the house, the mover.
Oh no, I didn't.
It's voiced by James L. Jones, who features a lot in this episode. The whole episode.
I did not pick that up. No,
he narrates the Raven.
Yeah,
and he is the voice of the cook in the second story with Kang and Kodo.
Oh, what do they call it? I can't remember his name now. Something the preparer.
Yeah. It begins with S, but yeah, they got their money's worth for James L. Jones in this episode.
As you would, if you're getting James Earl Jones and get your money's worth out of him, that's fair enough.
Well, he's featured a lot in The Simpsons in general. He's done a lot of cameos. So yeah, it's a very, very straightforward story. Of this, the house just does not want them there, and does anything it can to get them out. On top of turning them all on themselves. Yeah,
so yeah, we have a scene where they get Lisa, the butcher knife, which she just did.
I'm so glad you, out of all of them, you picked that one, because I noted that one down, that she just whips out this butcher.
Yeah. So yeah, we have this sequence where they're all the family are gathering weapons and stalking each other, and then Marge appears, and her sort of sequence with the knife is because she's been making a sandwich.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
I think Homer's got an axe.
Homer's got an axe. I think Maggie's got a cleaver. Oh, Bart's got a cleaver.
Yeah, Maggie's following him.
She's just got he also has she's in the crib with her head just rotating.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a bit before this where Homer, when they find out the house. Oh no, the house. They see the house has got they discover the house has got the Indian burial ground in the basement, and he rings the estate agent. Say, "You didn't tell me there was an Indian burial ground."
Well, that's not my recollection. Apparently, he mentioned it 6 times.
Yeah. So they're about to try and kill each other, and they're in like a circle, and Marge has just had enough, and basically has a go at the house, and the house wants to just have a think about this, see if he can live with the Simpsons in the house.
That's it.
They go outside to let the house have a little think it over. House is like, peace out. And out of it. I can't live with them. I can't live with this.
That's where the poltergeist reference comes in. The house just packs up and implodes in on itself, as it does at the end of Poltergeist. And Lisa comments that the house chose to destroy itself rather than spend any more time with them. Which I can't remember if she signs it off now. Which you've got to find a little insulting or something like that. Yeah.
What's great is that this story may have been 7 minutes long, maybe I didn't time it, 7-8 minutes long, because it's a 20-minute episode. It's such a simple story for the first story of a Treehouse of Horror. Really simple, but it packs so many great one-liners, little tidbits that are funny. It's great. It's just a little short story you could just watch on its own, and it works.
Yeah.
I personally, out of all 3, this is probably the best one. Out of all 3 of these short stories, in my opinion, this is the best one. In personal opinion, I'm not saying.
I think I like The Raven just a little bit more.
Okay.
But it's second. It'll be second. The second tale, Hungry of the Damned, is probably my least favorite.
Yeah, it's the weakest.
It's. Are we moving straight on to that, or have you got any more to say about?
I mean, it's like I said, it's a very simple story. Bad Dream House. I don't have much more to say on it. As I say, it finishes like Poltergeist. It has. Amityville. I guess I've only seen Amityville once. Once, and it was a long time ago. I don't have a very good memory of it. Is the only Amityville aspect the voice or it turning people against each other?
It's the house being haunted and a bad influence, because that's the original story, isn't it? That the guy killed his family and claimed that
that's it.
A ghost made him do it, or something to that effect. or he was possessed by an evil entity in the house.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, generally, I didn't take a lot of notes on this because I think I've seen certainly these earlier ones, like a lot over the years, and I think it was maybe just more of a refresher. But yeah, you're right. It's a good start. It's a nice, simple story. It's got those classic sort of gags. I mean, like say the phone call with Homer and the real stage, and it's just brilliant. So yeah, but the next one is Hungry Are the Damned, which is a parody of a Twilight Zone episode. Apparently. Yes,
which that's a big staple for Treehouse of Horror as well. Among parodying horror films in general, Twilight Zone is up there.
Twilight Zone comes a lot, which I haven't seen a lot of Twilight Zone episodes. I don't know if it really ever got an airing over here.
I've seen a couple, thoroughly enjoyed them, and it's just been one of those things that I've said, I'll get to that. I really want to get to that because they're great short stories, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I mean, but I could say the original. I mean, the original is like from the 50s and 60s, isn't it? The original.
Yeah. They're in black and white.
Twilight Zone, and then they had.
I mean, the most famous one, the William Shatner on the plane one,
which we will get to because that is
that
is a later Treehouse episode. But I don't have much experience with the Twilight Zone generally, but we have this is based on an episode called To Serve Man. So this opens with Homer preparing a barbecue, and we have the gag with the lighter fluid, which I just love. Homer squirting lighter.
It's a classic. It's an absolute classic.
Into the grill, a bit more, and then he stops and there's a drip, and then he squeezes it really hard. And I think that gets used again in another episode, doesn't it?
I believe it's Lisa the Vegetarian. Mm-hmm. Is it Lisa the Vegetarian where he's prepping the grill? Because he's serving the burgers and then brings out the pig. So to begin with, he's serving the burgers on the grill. It's a great gag. It
is a great gag. I love it.
What's more specifically I think the better part of that gag in this one, he lights it. And it's like a nuclear bomb, right?
Yeah. We get big mushrooms.
The better version of this gag is the Lisa the Vegetarian, where he lights it. It's like he's squinting, puts a match in. And it's like a little flame. After all that lighter fluid going in, it's just like a.
Well, I guess that's a callback, isn't it? I guess that must be a callback to this episode.
Yeah, completely.
Even though, like I say, these Treehouse ones aren't canon, but I guess you could probably argue that Homer does that every time he has a barbecue, so he's well aware of what might occur. This is also the first appearance of Kang and Kodos.
Indeed.
Serek the Preparer is the name of the chef one. But yeah, they became. I think they appear in every Treehouse episode. I will verify that as we go along.
That is that'll be an interesting one to check out.
I did just doing a little bit of research and reading around on.
Are you just spitting false trivia here?
No.
Without doing your research.
I am taking it on authority.
Okay.
That this little bit of trivia. No, not even that. What I'm saying is, this is a piece of trivia I've heard. Yeah. We will verify it. Okay. But Kang and Kodos supposedly, this is their first appearance in this short as part of this first Treehouse episode, and they appear in every subsequent Treehouse episode, often just in the background or as a little throwaway, rather than being like main characters and main focus of the story. But they will just randomly crop up.
I have a question for you.
Go.
Are you Kang or Kodos?
Oh.
Where do you fall?
Well, I voted for Kodos.
Do you know what? So did I, because I prefer Kodos, and the reason being, I prefer the voice acting, which is Dan Castellaneta.
Castellaneta.
Yeah, and Kang is Harry Shearer, who's more. I think Kang is more. I won't say the leader, but the number one, and I think Kodos is the number two, really.
Yeah.
And they're from planet
Rigel 7.
Well
no, Rigel
done.
4. Sorry, it's Rigel 4 in this episode.
It is, but it's actually Rigel 7 normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Their design, their design changes as well. They look a bit different in this first one.
They do. I mean, their color changes really, really drastically in this one. Or is it between it might be the second episode when they crop up. The Treehouse 2.
I also dreamed of being a baseball. I can't wait till we get to the one with the presidents, man. I can't wait. Look forward, not backward.
Backwards.
Upwards. Downwards.
Not backwards.
And twirling. Twirling towards freedom. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, we get this.
What about the story? What's going on with the story?
I was going to get back to the story. So yes, the Simpsons are having a barbecue in the back garden, and yeah, we get this wonderful lighter fluid gag, and then a UFO appears.
Yeah, just appears. Yeah,
a UFO appears because they get straight. Like I say, they're short, so we just get straight into it. There's no warning. A UFO appears and essentially abducts the family. We have that sort of dolly zoom effect on Lisa, and she's like green and red shaded, and we have that. And I'm sure
the snap zoom.
Yeah.
It's
a reference to something, but I can't think what. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether it's. I mean, that shot is used in Jaws, in probably one of the biggest.
Yes.
Examples of it, but I'm sure there's a specific sci-fi, probably alien movie that alien is in extraterrestrials, not xenomorphs, where that gets used. But I just that scene just feels like it's lifted directly from something else, but I could not.
Yeah, completely.
I could not find out exactly what it was. And yeah, we're introduced to Kang and Kodos, and they basically tell the Simpsons that they're taking them to Rigel 4 to live forever in, peace and harmony, and they'll have everything they want, and it's going to be amazing. And they check all their vital statistics and weigh them and all of this sort of stuff, and then prepare several sumptuous feasts, and it's they won't want for anything. Everybody gets their favorite meal.
Yep.
And yeah, off they go. And is it Lisa that's
she discovers
skeptical?
The book? Yeah, she's skeptical over time, and then discovers the book that first says how to cook humans.
Yeah.
And then one, I believe Kang or Kodos, one of the aliens grabs it and goes, "Oh, you've got it all wrong. You've got it all wrong."
Yeah.
This is after once she's discovered the book. Homer then has a little rant, which is great. It's like nobody, while he's eating, and it's just that it's better because he's eating, because he's still chewing and food is coming out his mouth. Nobody eats the Simpsons, and there's like you've got it all wrong. There's some space dust on this book.
Yeah.
How to cook for humans. And then it goes back to Lisa. It's like, now what's this? How to cook 40 humans. And, there's a little bit more space dust on here. How to cook for 40 humans.
40
there
humans.
We go.
Yeah, nice little back and forth gag.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Rigelians basically feel really sad and disappointed that they've
stop crying.
Yeah, and that's where we get that. Yeah. And like, you were force feeding us, and it's like, force feeding you? I've slaved away over a hot stone. You people are insatiable. Poor Sarek the preparer is beside himself with grief. So yeah, they unceremoniously are dumped back on Earth for essentially being distrustful.
Yeah,
and
it's a very simple story.
It is a very simple story, and yeah, it's the space dust gag is probably the big sort of standout joke in this short, and it ends. I'm not a huge sort of sci-fi fan, although I do like the characters of Kang and Kordos, but sort of generally in my sort of horror and
they've always been more the comedy aspect of it.
Yeah. Movie preference. Anyway, sci-fi is not really my thing, so
no.
I can take or leave a UFO story. So that's why it's my weakest one.
Agreed. And then we move on to our final story of this episode, The Raven.
The Raven.
Which to me, I say I'm not really familiar with Alan Poe's work, and I remember when I first saw this episode as probably a kid, young teen, I really didn't enjoy it because of the way it was structured, the way this story was portrayed as a poem. I didn't care for poems as a kid or a teenager. I didn't enjoy it. I was like, why is Homer talking like this? I got the premise that he was being stalked by this raven outside that was scaring him. He was thinking it was other means other than a raven. But I didn't get it. I can watch it now. I can enjoy it, but I think because of that, it didn't do anything for me.
I get that. It's not like you say. It's not going to appeal to everybody, particularly not a younger audience, I guess.
No,
probably feels too much like schoolwork. And I'm not familiar with Paw, as I've said. He's the Raven generally. Apart from this is where all my knowledge of the Raven comes from the Simpsons version of it. So I'm not entirely sure what's what. But I, on the other hand, really get a kick out of hearing Homer talking in the style of the poem, particularly when he's doing his sort of whiny, sort of scared voice, which I just find kind of hilarious anyway. When I guess it's sort of what we know as like a classic Bart and Homer like fight scene.
Yeah.
But transposed into this other version, so he's raging and throwing things at the Raven. That is Bart, and Bart's just mocking him with "Eat my shorts." I really like Bart's little look as the Raven, though, because he looks a bit like Bartman with the cow. It is Bartman. Yeah, I think it really works for Bart, especially with his Bart's own characteristics as well as Bart in general, being the cheeky little 10-year-old that always wants to cause trouble. It works just having him as the Raven. Sorry, I was just talking, reading some of the lines. The story is it's the narrator is at home basically sort of mourning the loss of his love, Lenore, his wife, who's played by Marge in this version. And one thing about that, her portrait on the wall with the hair, extra, because her hair goes so far, they had to put another little bit on the top of her hair, extra little frame. And then, he's sort of tormented over a dark night with a raven endlessly quoting Nevermore. And it's sort of, I guess, I mean, when was that written? The Raven itself? Yeah, it's 1800s, isn't it, I think? Why is when it was written not the top of the Wikipedia page? Why isn't it? So it's old, you know, and it's got that old. When was the Raven written? There we go. 1845. 1845. Okay. So it's got that old style to it, that old cadence, and it is a performance. As far as I can tell, like I say, I've not verified it, but as far as I can tell, it's more or less all intact. You know what I mean? Is it said word for word? I think so. Like I say, I've not verified it, but It feels like it is. It feels like. I don't think they've changed too much.
Right.
And it's sort of it's an old ghost story, isn't it? I guess, and it's still, despite it being presented with The Simpsons, I think it's still got that feel, because I don't think it doesn't feel like the language has been changed too much, apart from the odd little gag, the odd little line for comedy effect.
I do think the one problem with it though is kind of how I felt with it. It's not going to resonate very well with a younger audience. That
it's probably a little bit too niche.
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine Americans would have a little bit more of a... I can see this being the kind of thing that American kids like study in school.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah.
So, like, for an American audience, and obviously The Simpsons being an American show, they've probably got a little bit more of a working knowledge of it.
Yep.
And therefore a little bit more of an appeal. But like you say, for a non-American audience or UK audience or whatever, we don't have the same basic background knowledge of who Edgar Allan Poe was or what the Raven is, and it probably is a little bit more jarring in that respect. So yeah, there's probably a little bit of a cultural difference there. It'd be like if it was an English show with Shakespeare, or something like that. We don't, don't necessarily have that inbuilt sort of knowledge of it or reference.
This story though hangs back to what I just said about the animation and art style, where there's a lot of over exaggerated, like long doors, tall hallways, rather than crisp cut right angles. It feels very much more organic and obviously hand drawn. I much prefer that art style. It's visually more pleasing.
I think so. It works very well in the Bad Dream House as well, when the house itself is moving and like the walls are moving and the pattern of the wallpaper and stuff is changing. It looks more alive and more vibrant, and and like I say, I think it's just it's the sign of the times, isn't it? And the more modern episodes are probably all drawn digitally, and there's not a pen stroke out of place, where in these earlier episodes you do have those odd little mistakes.
Like a door that's
that show
a bit wavy-davy.
Wobbly lines and things.
It's not a sign of bad animation or bad art. It's just a sign of more organic and natural animation. You can't hear me. You can't hear me. Oh dear. Hang on, folks. Still recording fine.
Oh no, you're back.
Oh, I'm back.
Weird.
Okay, I'm back.
Don't know what happened there.
Thought I was rudely interrupted. That's we're just about to cap off this episode. I was saying the way this is animated in the art style does feel more natural and organic. Like I said, with the wavy lines and non-straight lines, it just feels... another word to describe it: more natural, organic, warm, more authentic, more appreciating the artist's work.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I suppose most cartoons now are produced in the same way. I mean, even like South Park isn't paper cut.
But that's probably just... Right, we've got an image, a JPEG of Cartman. Let's put him there. Let's put him there. So yeah, that's the first Treehouse of Horror. The first one. It's pretty good, to be fair. It's a pretty solid episode.
Good. And like I say, it's the first Halloween episode. It had been the first time seeing these characters doing something different, and I can remember. I generally can remember watching, like, looking forward to the new Treehouse of Horror episodes coming up. Like, I think they're always a bit of a treat, always a bit of an event.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get on to the next one.
Number 2.
Hang on. Treehouse of Horror, episode 2. No, not episode 2. Treehouse of Horror 2, season 3, episode 7.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit later on in the season, this one.
Actual Halloween release, this one as well.
Yeah.
So episode 1. I'm gonna say episode 1. I mean Treehouse of Horror 1. Was October 25th original air date. So slightly before Halloween, whereas this one was bang on Halloween. I think most of them were just around, maybe not bang on the date, but around.
I think they tried to position.
They tried to be as close to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just looking at some of the later ones seem to be the first week of November rather than Halloween itself. But yeah, for certainly most of them, they did their best to get as close to a Halloween airing as possible.
Yeah. We get the same, very similar disclaimer by Marge, and same, like we said earlier, same opening title crawl, which happens for I don't know the exact number, but a majority of the first few Treehouse of Horrors where the title comes out the graveyard, and we pan through the graveyard with gags and jokes, and we end up at the Simpson house. So very similar opening to the first one.
We do. I mean, I like in that Marge's introduction, she does actually give a little callback to the last year.
She does.
She's like, none of you listened, none of you paid any attention last year, but this year, I'm telling you, please, like, don't watch this. And just another thing that we've not mentioned about the title crawl is that we get the little name changes for everybody that I always like. So all like the producers' credits names and stuff. So it's they change them to like really sort of bad horror puns or Halloween related puns, or Matt Groening becoming Bat Groaning and things like that.
Just little things, yeah.
Which they were always fun. They were always a fun little nod. I mean, that's something that I've always kind of liked about The Simpsons anyway, is the slight little like the couch gags and the little things that change with the intro sequence anyway. So this was like a...
When couch gags were couch gags and not episodes in themselves. Yeah. What's your favourite couch gag?
Oh. There is a good horror related one actually that might be from a tree. I don't know if it is from a Treehouse episode where they run in and Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface, etc. are all on the couch. That's a good one. That
is a good one. Yeah, love that one. The wraparound, the story, the initial story is a lot stronger in this one. I feel because the second story, the whole point of the second story that relates to the wraparound happens right at the end of the second story, which we'll get to. I'll explain properly what I mean. But they come home from trick or treating. Homer's at the house. Marge and the kids come home from trick or treating. We have Marge dressed as the bride, which I noted down. We see more of her as the bride than the bride itself in Bride of Frankenstein. Bart as a masked executioner. Maggie as like she looks like the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz with a mask on, and Lisa as a totem pole. That was a really strange. I don't say strange, but just obscure costume.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, I guess people just dress up as anything and everything for Halloween, don't they? Anyway,
anything, yeah.
Like the idea that it's supposed to be something scary has never really been the case. I think traditionally you're supposed to wear a mask just to sort of hide your identity. So arguably, it's not. It doesn't matter if it's.
I mean, it's certainly not. You don't dress scary when you're your late teens or early 20s at uni.
Well, no.
You've got let's say some females dressed as cats with the whiskers drawn on. You've got guys that are there in their Jack Wheels outfits, but have got maybe like fancy contacts in, and a bit of red paint coming from their eyes.
Some fangs.
If you're going to do it, you have to go all out. That's my rule.
Mousy, animal ears and lingerie.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Mean Girls.
Yeah.
A Halloween costume should be lingerie and some sort of animal ears.
So fair play, Lisa went all out. Just very obscure. And Homer's like, "Did you get a good haul this year?" And they start getting right into their haulage. They got loads of sweets, loads of chocolate. And Marge states, "You eat too much, you're gonna have nightmares."
Yeah.
And thus follows the nightmares, which are our stories for the episode.
Yeah.
And the first one is Lisa's, the Monkey's Paw.
The first one is Lisa's, the Monkey's Paw, which is based on. I was looking for the reference for this, and I didn't actually make a note of it, stupidly.
I have it here if you want.
Go for it.
It is based on would you believe it, a Twilight Zone episode.
Is it? Oh, because
well, it's partially based on a Twilight Zone episode called "A Small Talent for War" and a short story by an author called W.W. Jacob.
Yes,
called "The Monkey's Paw." So,
written in 1902,
yeah,
or published in 1902.
So I think it's more so based on that, because the idea of the Monkey's Paw, I feel like, is quite a big, quite a tropey idea. I feel like it's been used in other media before.
I think it's been. Films. I think there have been not parodies, versions. I think there have been versions of it produced quite a lot. For various dramatizations of it, radio plays, like say Twilight Zone episodes, it does have its own sort of identity in pop culture generally, outside of it being the story itself,
Not even it being just a Monkey's Paw, just cursed wishes.
The concept, of cursed wishes. Like I say, I think that this is the origin of it. Is this W.W. Jacobs story? But yeah, it's been done that many times, and I believe Pets. God, I'm drawing a blank on it. Stephen King cites it as being an influence for Pet Sematary, which again is has a sort of be careful what you wish for motif. I think it's sort of grown beyond the actual just the story, and people probably know it as like that sort of Wishmaster-esque. Be careful
I was just
what you
about
wish
to say,
for thing.
I thought Wishmaster, cursed wishes, basically.
Yeah.
Although the first wish, which we have to get into because there's a bit of a preamble before this, the first wish isn't cursed.
It's not. Not that we see anyway. Yeah.
I hadn't clocked until I rewatched this episode before. But anyway, so they were on holiday in Morocco. I believe it is Marrakesh.
Something like that.
And Homer finds a very dodgy stall, sees a monkey's paw.
Yeah.
And asks, doesn't get any frozen yogurt with it.
No, but it's very much that sort of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah. And the store owner states you get wishes with it, but he must warn you that the wishes are cursed. He still buys it anyway.
Yeah.
And I love the gag here of where did you get that from? It was over
there.
Yeah.
And there's a little Dust Devil tornado-y thing happening. Is oh no, over there.
Oh, it was over there.
Yeah.
But you subtly hear the store owner. You don't see his mouth move, bad animation, but he's waving goodbye, but he's saying, "You'll be sorry."
So just after that, we get a Midnight Express reference with Homer being done for smuggling, and he's got loads of knickknacks and things.
I never got what this bit was from. It felt so out of place in the story. Because he has to pay a fine of $2 American for stuff he's smuggling home. So what do you say it's from?
It's a film called Midnight Express, which is about a young an American student who gets sent to Turkish prison trying to smuggle hashish out of the country. Okay. Which I think it's based on a true story. But yeah, there's a very famous scene where he gets caught, and it's all sort of hands up and stuff, and they lift up his shirt, and he's just got sort of all the packages and stuff taped to his body. So it's a reference to that. Which is a film from like 1978, so it's an old movie, but again, probably big and popular enough to have that, to be a sort of prime candidate for ribbing in a Simpsons episode. But it's just a little nod to another movie there, and obviously not a horror one as well. But Yeah, that's what that is. And then beyond that, there is a gag. I was blown away by the next gag, which is jokes. So Homer wishes for fame and fortune. After is it Homer that does it?
After the
so Maggie makes the first wish,
yes,
for a new pacifier,
which as we said, doesn't end up being cursed that we know of.
No, Big Limo turns up and she's presented with this shiny new pacifier on a pillow.
The second wish is Bart.
It's Bart.
And we wish for the Simpsons to be rich and famous, basically.
Yeah. Where
money just appears, money just appears out of Marge's hair and her purse explodes and they become famous and people start to get sick of them.
Which is outstanding. So there's just shots of them doing a Calypso record and there's this and there's lots of people commenting like, God, they'll put their names on anything. Is there anything that they won't do? And why are they still a thing? Yeah. And this is jokes about the Simpsons outstaying their welcome in series 3 of the Simpsons.
Absolutely mad. How ironic.
Which, talking about the Simpsons' ability to predict the future.
They did it here.
Simpsons did it first. They obviously knew where it was going. Not that I think it should end necessarily, but I know as we've discussed, there's a lot more fondness for the earlier stuff, I think, than the later series.
Well, yeah.
but yeah, to be making jokes about outstaying your welcome in your third series when you've got 32 more series to come is a little bit mind blowing. So that's the second. They have the second wish.
I forgot there was a note. Sorry, I put down about earlier on before the wishes get made. Marge makes a great comment of, "There's something I don't like about that severed hand."
Yeah. There's something unsavory about that. So yeah.
The key word there, severed hand. So they end up sick of the Simpsons. There's the point. Is this the one where? Oh no, the next wish is it Lisa asks for peace on Earth.
She asks for peace on Earth, yeah.
Where they end up doing like a sort of hands across America. The people,
all
across America.
People of every race and creed and come together and they melt down all the weapons and
that's it.
It
do like
looks
a peace symbol.
It looks like it's working. Yeah, everybody, all nations on Earth are living together in peace and harmony. They've set aside the differences, and we are one world and one people. And that opens up for Kang and Kordos to turn up again.
They're back.
And as we are now defenseless, they manage to overtake with fairly primitive weapons of their own and enslave humanity.
But their story keeps going until we see Ned gets the hand.
Mm-hmm.
But Homer gets to the point, before Ned gets the hand, Homer gets to the point of he's fed up with the paw and wants to try one last attempt at a wish.
This is my favourite gag of the thing.
Wants a turkey sandwich. He doesn't want. I can't remember what the stipulations are. He doesn't want any.
I don't want any zombie turkeys. Yeah. I don't want to turn into a turkey myself. Just want a normal turkey sandwich on rye bread or whatever it is.
But the turkey's a little dry.
The turkey's a little dry.
So he dumps the paw because it's done them no good. And Ned picks it up. And we get we get a great scene. Oh no! Sorry. Before this, there's a note I took down where is it Lenny? They're in the town square, and Lenny or someone turns to Gordon the baker and says, "Gordon, help us!" It's like, what do you want me to do? I'm a baker now.
Yeah.
We never see this character ever again, but the way they talk to him is established that he's a main character of the show. Mm-hmm. Like, we should know who Gordon the baker is and that he will save the day. So when Ned gets the paw, we get the quick shot of Mo being chased by one of the aliens, Kang or Kodos. And then Ned's first wish is, well, I guess first wish is to get rid of those pesky aliens.
Yeah.
And Mo ends up chasing them with a nail in a board.
He's got a board with a nail through it. Look out.
Mo saves Earth, basically.
Well, yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Let's say
Mo. So that Mo's curse does. Ned's curse. Ned's wish doesn't get cursed. Ned's next wish to, let's say, renovate the house.
Yeah, spruce up the old homestead, I think is what he says.
Does not get cursed because it turns into Cinderella's castle.
Yeah.
And we end with Homer wishing he had a monkey's paw.
Yeah.
It's great.
But, it's obviously... Ned Flanders' wishes aren't going to turn sour, are they? Because it's just that one-upmanship against Homer, which is good. I
wonder if because of Ned's curse is not... Ned's wish is not being cursed. Similar to Maggie, who can do no wrong. You've kind of got the family of the Simpsons who think they do well in society. They do good with humanity, but they're not the greatest family out there with their social skills or whatnot. So maybe they've been cursed to begin with. Whereas Ned is a man of the cloth, a man of God.
Yeah.
So the curse won't affect him.
No, that's probably it, isn't it? It's how does Homer describe it? Mr. Squeaky Clean wants to come hang with Dirty Dingus McGee, or whatever he refers to himself as. Welly.
Yeah.
I do like the little monologue that Kang or Kodos has at the end of this about how the humans will inevitably create bigger nails with boards in an escalating fashion until they destroy themselves with the biggest nail in a board. A nail through a board big enough to destroy their entire world or something.
And then the laugh, the iconic Kang and Kodos elongated laugh that just keeps going past the point where you think they'd stop because the background music stops and they're still and that gets used quite a lot whenever they're shown. That's the first story. It's good. It's good.
Again, it's I'm guessing a reasonably close enough retelling of what happens in the story. Somebody procures a magic dealer that's going to grant wishes, but be careful what you wish for. And we get that with a nice Simpsons twist. There's some good gags. It's a good little story. So Lisa wakes up from that, scared, and heads into Bart's room and wants to jump in, sleep next to Bart because she's frightened. What does Bart say? Bart says something to her.
No, Lisa obviously had a nightmare. She wants to just bunk up with Bart, feel safe. Mm-hmm. And Bart's payment for this is he wants a candy necklace, or Lisa gives him a candy necklace. I haven't had a candy necklace in so long. They were great. No, and he eats it in one. He puts it in his mouth and pulls out the string out. Yeah, it's great. So she bunks up, and then when you get into Bart's
I'm aboard.
Bart's Nightmare, which is again another parody of a Twilight Zone episode called "It's a Good Life," where
just before we get into this, do we get title cards for the shorts in this episode?
No, I
don't think we do we? Because we certainly do in the first episode. We get Bad Dream House. We get. There are no title cards for the episodes in this.
No, very good shout.
They are known as the Monkeys Paw, the Bart Zone, and If I Only Had a Brain is the last one. But there's no actual on-screen representation of what the story's called in this. Which I was sure that was the case, but then I was kind of thinking, have I just zoned out and missed it for every single one?
Yeah, good shout. I hadn't clocked that. I had clocked it for this one because it starts with a narration of basically what's happening.
Yeah, it's that classic Twilight Zone narration.
So Bart has omnipotent powers and can mentally control anything basically, and the world around him is frightened of him and and has to be happy. Everyone has to be positive and happy, and everyone's got like a fake smile on. They've got that fake smile, like, oh, I'm so upset.
Yeah.
Even his family are terrified of him, and will.
I mean, everybody is basically,
Yeah.
aren't they? Because they know that the slightest thing that they do that may displease him, they're gonna fall victim. As the sports announcer in the later on in the story says, whenever something unexpected happens, it's good that Bart did that.
So the story itself is very simple. Like we said, the family are afraid of him, but they get to a point where, especially Marge, she's like, please, for me, can you just stop? And this is, I think she gets to that point after Homer has really had enough and tries to end Bart.
Yeah.
Bart stops him, turns him into a jack-in-a-box, and Marge is like, please, for me, can you just be nice? Which leads to Bart and Homer spending some time together. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we get great gags like the crank, probably one
crank
of the best.
I've got this written down. The best crank call. More.
Please,
I'm an ugly moron with a big butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt.
It's fantastic. We've got
again, which probably stands out as one of the more for me memorable phone gags, and it's completely non-canon and ridiculous because it's framed within this.
I'm a stupid moron.
I'm a stupid moron.
I'm a stupid moron. Yeah. It's great. And then we've also got the bit of Homer's watching football, American football, and Bart wants to watch Krusty, which we'll get to in a second. Wants to watch Krusty, and Homer's like, not now, boy. He's not happy.
I've got $50 riding on this game, yeah.
Bart's not happy with it. Teleports Homer to the football game, but teleports him so that he is the ball. So a field goal's kicked, and I just love that visual of Homer flying into the
ball is turning into an overweight balding man.
It's so good. We turn Krusty on. Krusty looks like shit.
Yeah, knackered, red eyes, unshaven, like sweaty, collars all undone.
Working for 346 consecutive hours. Now let's go over to Sideshow Mel and see if he has any of those legal over-the-counter wake-up drugs.
I know. And shortly after that, Homer comes, a taxi pulls up, and Homer comes back in, and he's got a bandage around his head. And there's something just inherently hilarious about Homer with the bandaged head. I don't know what it is, but just visually, it's like, it just cracks me up every time.
He's got a smile on his face, in a way. He's got like a little grin on his face as he's walking towards Bart silently, about to end
Trying
him,
not to
brain
think of anything.
him.
Yeah.
And of course, Bart then sees him and turns him into a jack-in-a-box.
That's when he turns into a jack-in-a-box, And we get that. And we get a nice little montage of him spending some quality father-son time, albeit with a jack-in-the-box. So,
but what I said at the beginning, the whole horror of this story ends up with Bart at the end of this, back to our wraparound, waking up like he's had a night terror, not a nightmare, like a night terror, screaming. Yeah. Because the horror part is Bart embracing his father's love.
Embracing his father,
That's the whole horror part of it, really. Not the point of Bart being this superpower of the world and no one can stop him. It's Bart's nightmare itself. Yeah.
So this was parodied, a parody of a Twilight Zone episode, as you said.
Yeah.
Which was called "It's a Good Life."
Yes, that's the one.
And this was also parodied by an episode of Johnny Bravo, which I don't know if you ever watched. I don't know if you remember, but
Johnny Bravo was fantastic.
Do you remember the Johnny Bravo parody of this?
The Johnny Bravo.
He keeps getting sent out. There's a kid with magic powers, and he keeps getting sent out to a cornfield every time. He upsets this kid. He's like babysitting him or something.
No, I don't remember that. That sounds great.
It is. I mean, I remember it being great, and it's obviously stuck in my memory. And I was like, oh yeah, I was watching when I was rewatching this. I was like, oh yeah, this was the Johnny Bravo episode,
That's so
as well.
Good. Oh, I will need to check that out. That sounds great. Yeah, I was a big fan of Johnny Bravo. Obviously, it's quite dated, the concept of it. But yeah, so now we get Bart and Lisa wanting to bunk up with the parents, so they're all in the bed together.
Mm-hmm.
We move on to Homer's nightmare, which we've kind of already done on the show.
We have, but just before, there's just, again, when the kids come in and want to sleep with mum and dad, Homer says, "Are you kids toilet trained?" Which makes me laugh.
He what?
He asks them if they're toilet trained. They're like, "Mum and dad, can we sleep with you?" He's like, "Are you kids potty trained?"
Yeah. Yes, he does. So what? There was obviously no title crawl for this one. What was it called?
No on-screen title for this one, but it was if I only had a brain, was it? Sorry, annoyingly, I've lost the page now. Yeah, I think it was if I only had a brain.
Yeah.
Which is Frankenstein.
Yeah,
it's Frankenstein. Yeah, so it's at this point I noticed, because I rewound it thinking like there wasn't a title on screen. At this point I realised that none of them have a title card of the shorts in this. So yeah, Mr. Burns essentially has created a robot that he wants to. He needs a human brain to power, because his human workforce are lazy essentially, and they fallible, and he wants,
kind of comes across bored, doesn't he? He just like wants to
tireless. He wants a tireless workforce that essentially doesn't have to pay, I suppose, is what he's after. So he reveals to Smithers that he's already built this robot, which coincidentally looks a lot like Homer. It's a big robot version of Homer. It
does indeed, yep.
And they set out to the cemetery to get a brain. And meanwhile, Homer is working as a gravedigger. I can't quite remember why now, but is
he?
Yeah, because he's because they find him in what they think is an open grave, don't they? And Homer's been fired.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, he's been fired, and because Bart is looking in the paper at the wanted ads, and he's like, "Here's a job for you, Dad.
That's it. Yeah,
lots of fresh air, chance to meet new people."
And ends up falling into an open grave, or is he just sleeping? Yeah, he falls asleep
in it.
And that's where Mr. Burns and Smithers are out on the hunt for their chosen grave, and they just happen to have one open right there.
Yeah. They're taking him as they're dragging him off. Homer wakes up. Smithers like, "Sir, I think this man's alive." He's like, "Ooh, is the corpse frightening you, Smithers?" And then he's beating him with a shovel. Naughty corpse frightening Smithers like that.
This what happens though next to Homer back at the lab is kind of what I was saying right at the beginning of this episode about how they get away with so much with like violence and blood, yet it's a cartoon. To some, it's a cartoon that would have been shown mid-evening. Homer's head is cut off. The skull is cut off. We see it rattling around on the floor. We see Mr. Burns pick up the brain,
pulls the brain out,
and do the business with it.
Snaps the spinal column.
If this was a live action, forget about it.
Oh yeah.
Forget about it. I mean, even in South Park,
it's quite graphic. Yeah, it is quite graphic, really. Yeah, but I do like the Mr. Burns who puts it on his head. "Look at me, I'm Davy Crockett."
Yeah.
So yeah, they remove Homer's brain and they implant it in the robot, and essentially we just get a big robot Homer, who the first thing he does is spy a box of donuts through several rooms away, and he crashes through the walls, and it is basically just Homer but a robot. So he's just as lazy, he's just as greedy, he's just as work shy as he was as a human, which makes perfect sense. There's no reason why he would be any different. And yeah, sort of in his ire, in his outrage that his plan hasn't worked, he kicks the robot and it falls.
"Run, sir, run!"
It falls. But I also like that moment where they're talking about putting Homer's brain back in, And he's like, "Come on, it's 11 o'clock." He's like, "But he's right here, sir." He's like, "Oh,
come on, it's time to go."
That's
so Mr. Burns gets crushed by his creation. I wish I'd written down the little monologue of Mr. Burns is sort of acting out what's happening to him, his body, like vital organs. Fluid flowing into vital organs.
Yeah, vital organs shutting down. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he has it's a good comic book guy style of describing of what's happening.
There's not much to this story, really.
No. We reveal that he wants to create a robot workforce. Steals Homer's brain, puts it in a robot. It very quickly works out that it transpires that it's not going to work out. He takes the brain out, robot falls on him, and then the final twist is that in order to save Mr. Burns, they transplant his head onto Homer's body.
Yeah.
Homer wakes up and realizes that he's got Mr. Burns' body.
So it's weird though, because it's Homer's nightmare that's now transitioned into real life in a way. But we get that comment from Mr. Burns, his head, saying, like, or is it a nightmare? Is this reality? Or is this a nightmare? So,
yeah. And is this? Yeah. This he wakes up, and is this when he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, I hate Halloween."
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Oh no, it's the end of the first one. It's the end of the first one when he's. Yeah. The end of this one is the end of this one is when he's Mr. Burns saying it's just a nightmare, or is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, another good one. It is another. I like it.
I think this treehouse is better than the first one.
I think it's better than the first one. I had forgotten totally about this Psychic Bart episode.
Really?
I'd completely forgotten about that. Although I kind of remembered Homer being a Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
And I remember the weird creature that Snowball 2 gets turned into. The long legs and the breathing fire. Basically, Bart decides that he wants to make the cat more interesting and turns it into this sort of weird...
So plain, so boring.
this weird chimera creature. And again, I guess I just couldn't remember any of the detail. I remember seeing them. I can remember thinking, oh yeah, there's a robot Homer at some point, and I can remember thinking, oh, I've seen the Monkeys Paw, but I couldn't remember like it being all encapsulated in that same episode. So it was kind of like watching it fresh again.
I think out of all of them, I couldn't remember Hungry Are the Damned from the first one. Well, because it's not as memorable as the Raven. Even if I didn't enjoy the Raven, it's not as memorable as that one, or the or even the Bad Dream House. I don't think.
Yeah, I seem to think that they were longer. I think if you'd have asked me, I'd have been like, I mean, obviously it's 3 short stories in one normal length episode.
Yeah,
but my memory of them seems to think that they are longer. I think
that's fair.
They're like a good introduction. I think the next 2, I'm just looking at the episode list now, and I think the next 2 are more memorable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that.
And possibly the next 4 are maybe the more iconic ones.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, going on
as we get into some bigger movie parodies, as well as I just remember them better. But yeah, it's a good introduction, and like I said earlier, I think the Treehouse, knowing that there was a new Treehouse of Horror episode coming, was always like a bit of an event. Back when I used to watch The Simpsons, like regular, and tune in for every new episode.
It really was.
Knowing there was a new Treehouse was like, oh yeah, great! I can't wait to see what they're going to do this time and what parodies there are going to be.
Well, that's it. I think it very much became, what film are they going to do this time? What film, rather than any original content. But then it really became, which pop culture thing are they gonna parody or rip off? Which character's gonna play this famous horror icon? Which
which I mean they did a little bit of in some of the other ones, but I mean it's as early as 10, just as a bit of a sneak preview for upcoming ones. I mean, 10 is one that I remember very well because I think we randomly had a Simpsons video of a few episodes, and this was on it. So that's I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Fantastic Four, which is the one with Xena in it. That's great. It is a great episode, but it's not really a Halloween one.
Is the first one you just said I Know What You Did Last Summer with Ned?
Ned, yeah. I guess I forgot to put the fog lights in.
Can't get enough of that sugar crisp.
Yeah.
And he's like, diddly.
Yeah, because, just skipping ahead massively, but the beginning of that episode is, I'm glad we escaped from those vampires. And it's like, it was worth it to rescue our sugar crisp cereal. So I think I know those three, like, very, very well. The third one in that is the year 2000, is the Y2K one.
Yeah.
Which is obviously very of its time.
Yeah.
Premiering on Halloween 1999, when everybody was assuming the world was going to end in a couple of short months
because of
civilization was going to collapse. Yeah. And then beyond that we get some, like I said, there's a Harry Potter one, and more recently Stranger Things and stuff. So
they become more reasons just to parody things, really.
Transformers, one. So there's a lot of like, there's still a good amount of horror, but there are a lot of like non-horror parodies because it's like, oh, let's do a Jumanji. There's a Jumanji one. Avatar.
Rather than making the effort to do horror parodies, they just became reasons to parody something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't wait till we get to this one, quite honestly. But episode 28, Treehouse of Horror 28, has a sausage party parody in it.
Oh,
which, I mean, isn't even like they parodied the biggest release of the year. That's just... No. I don't know what that's going to be. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But yeah, they does seem to just sort of go. There's still old stuff in there as well, but it does seem to be a little bit of like, we'll do a couple of like horror films, or we'll do a couple of bits, and then we'll just pick the biggest franchise that's currently happening right now, and we'll do that. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how we go. But it's a good start, and like I say, I think there are a lot of like iconic Simpsons moments in these Treehouse episodes.
Big time, yeah. So yeah, the first two installments, I think, surprised me more. That I think I enjoyed them more. I was expecting to be a little bit underwhelmed by them, but no, they still hold up. They still really hold up as great horror episodes of this show. So yeah,
and good Halloween episodes. Yeah, generally. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a bit of a staple of TV series, and particularly long-running ones, to have a Christmas episode, a Christmas special, a Halloween, Halloween special, Halloween episode, and yeah, The Simpsons is no exception. They've done several Christmas-themed episodes over the years. They've obviously done the Treehouse of Horror series as their Halloween episodes, and they do stick out as being, like I say, an event, good episodes, something to look forward to, that you do get with other TV series, but perhaps not as iconic.
No, you do get sitcoms that do try to do their Halloween episodes. Yeah. Sometimes they'll fall off or not do them one year. Or... But
this has been, like I say, consistent. Apart from the first series, this has been a consistent thing for every episode. So, yeah, good start. It is a good start. With some good twists on well-known things. Yeah. And... yeah, we'll see. So there we go. That's Treehouse of Horror and
what is some of your favourite Treehouse of Horror episodes or episodes within stories within Treehouse of Horror?
Yeah.
Let us know. You can send them on into the Dreadcast at podcast.
The Dreadcastpodcast at gmail.com.
Not the Dreadcast app podcast. That one, the one Aidan said. Yeah, send them all in. So yeah, that's Treehouse of Horror episode 1 and 2 done. When we come back next week. Next month.
Yeah.
Next month we'll be looking at episode 3 and 4 and so on and so forth.
That's great. What's coming up? What else is coming up? Should we talk about what else?
It is, and as hopefully by the time this is out, I will have posted the schedule on all the social medias where you can find all the information on the podcast, which is _Dreadcast on Twitter /X, Instagram, and TikTok. So for the month of February, we will be on top of what we've just done now, looking at My Bloody Valentine, the remake, not the original, the remake, My Bloody Valentine 3D from 2009.
Yeah.
Your pick for the month, Creep, the London Underground horror.
Yes, not the found footage.
No. Had to specify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, our next installment in the Monsters Universal series being The Phantom of the Opera.
Yes. The Phantom of the Opera.
So yes, a nice concoction.
It's a good mix.
It's a good mix. We've got a good mix February.
Of different things there.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Stick with us for the month of February. We've plenty more to come in March, April, and so on. We're thinking ahead. We've got the Raven-sized coffin tombola. We're still going to be working on that. It's going to be coming in the next month or so. More Simpsons, more series, more things in the pipeline.
Plenty for your viewing and listening pleasure. And thank you everybody that does listen, likes and shares, and feel free to get in touch via the social media pages or via the email address, which once again is dreadcastpodcast@gmail.com.
And you can
anything else?
You can find all this episode, and we already found this episode, and all past content on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon, Podbean, and YouTube, all by searching The Dreadcast. And I'm done. So until next time, guys. We still need. I don't have come
anything.
on! You had a good one last time. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.